We're going to turn our attention to high school basketball now as we welcome in Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, how are you this morning?
What's happening, buddy?
Just getting ready. Regular season kind of winding down. A couple of more showcase events today. Obviously the War versus the Shore. I'll be over at Mainland Regional to see those Mainland girls take on Toms River North, and then head up to Paul VI, watch St. Augustine play Haddonfield. So a full day of hoops on tap.
Man, hope you took a day off one day this week to kind of get the comp hours going.
Starting this weekend, it's time to get going. You got the Cape Atlantic League tournament starting next Friday night, and then that playing out the next week, and you've got some big Cape Atlantic League games on Monday and Wednesday of this week that'll kind of determine tournament spots and stuff like that. And then, of course, the state tournament starts on February 25th. So, we can relax, for a couple of days in the middle of March before the spring madness begins.
Mike, I feel like the high school basketball season has gone from second year to overdrive in the last week or so. We've seen all kind of players hitting their 1,000 career point. I know Trina Devaney from Cedar Creek got it this week. Also, last night, Jordan Sweeney from Egg Harbor Township. There's a couple more, I guess, closing in. A girl from Lower Cape May, and also Ayana Alvis from Oakcrest. She's a couple points away. So really starting to get it. And now we're looking at the Cape Atlantic tournament. Who's going to be in? Where the seating's going to be? So help us break it all down here. We're kind of confused. It's all coming at us in a one big rush.
Yeah, I think kind of boys' side. I think the drama sort of sits at the number 8 spot on the boys' side right now. At least the way I kind of look at it. I think you've got Lower Cape May and Holy Spirit kind of battling for that number 8 spot. I know right now Lower Cape May is a game ahead of Holy Spirit in the national division. But Lower Cape May has Mainland and Ocean City on their schedule Monday and Wednesday, and Holy Spirit has a game with Oakcrest left on Monday night. So, Holy Spirit with the big win over Lower Cape May last night, they get a big game out of Joe Glenn. Holy Spirit kind of puts themselves right in position to get that number 8 spot, and Lower Cape May, which has persevered through some adversity and has played very well all season long, can still get that number 8 spot with wins, with a win over either Ocean City or Mainland this week, or put them in contention for that 8 spot with a win over Ocean City or Mainland this week. So it'll be interesting to see how that, scenario plays out. And of course, the number 8 team would be playing Wildwood Catholic, which gets a big win over St. Joe last night at home, 62-52. Jaleel White with 26 points. Wildwood Catholic, they'll finish the regular season up at Paul VI against Eastern tomorrow. Wildwood Catholic at 21-1, the obvious number 1 seed right now.
That's a big win for Holy Spirit. I mean, all those other 3 teams, Mainland, Ocean City, and Lower, have been trying to shake them the entire season. That just won't seem to go away.
Yeah, Holy Spirit stands. I think they played one more conference game than Lower Cape May, so Lower Cape May has a game in hand. But obviously, to have any chance of making the tournament, Holy Spirit had to win last night, and as I said, they got a big game out of Joe Glenn, and they were able to win by I think 9 at Holy Spirit. So a huge win for Holy Spirit to keep them in contention. You look at the rest of the seeding. I think you've got St. Augustine at 2, I think Pleasantville 3, Millville 4, Mainland Regional. What a remarkable season for them, and another big win last night over Vineland. Vineland was kind of lurking as far as maybe being able to grab that number 8 seed, but Mainland beating Vineland last night kind of ends Vineland's hopes a little bit. And then, St. Joe in there in Ocean City. And then I think it's really between Lower Cape May and Holy Spirit, and that'll play out over the next couple of days for that final number 8 spot.
Mike, you see Pleasantville getting a higher seed than Millville? That could be that could go either way, I think.
Well, I absolutely. I think you could put those teams at 3 or 4 either way. Millville has some impressive non-conference, non-division wins. Millville has beaten St. Joe. Millville has beaten Mainland Regional back on opening night. That's a win that nobody kind of barely recognized on opening night, but now you look at it with the way Mainland has played all season long, it's a great win for Millville. I think Millville's 18-3. I think Pleasantville is 15-5, but Pleasantville's 5 losses. They've just played a monster schedule. Pleasantville has lost twice to Wildwood Catholic. They lost to St. Mary's of Elizabeth. They lost to Elizabeth. St. Mary's of Elizabeth and Elizabeth are 2 of the top 10 teams in the state. I believe Elizabeth is still undefeated. Pleasantville has just played a monster schedule. And, the tiebreaker right now that I kind of look at, and Millville will play St. Augustine again this week, and there's nothing to say that Millville can't move ahead of them with an impressive performance or even a win over St. Augustine. But right now, Pleasantville played St. Augustine at Pleasantville and lost by 2. Millville played St. Augustine at Millville and lost by double digits. So I think that's why I give Pleasantville a slight edge. That, and based on the fact that their non-conference schedule, was very, very tough. Like, they didn't have to go play Elizabeth. They didn't have to go play St. Mary's of Elizabeth. So I think, looking at that, I don't think they should be penalized for playing a tough non-conference schedule. But if you look at it, I mean, like you said, the committee could go either way. You could put Millville ahead of Pleasantville. You could put Pleasantville ahead of Millville. No one can argue with either decision.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. And, Mike, who do you think is really playing the best at this point right now? I mean, obviously Wildwood Catholic has a tremendous record, and they have probably the best overall team. Who do you look for in this Cape Atlantic League tournament to really be able to make a run maybe to the finals?
Well, obviously putting Wildwood Catholic aside, I think they are, the favorite right now. I think, St. Augustine is playing very, very well. It's kind of been a quiet season for St. Augustine. It seems weird to sort of say that, and I'm sure, some people, say rooting for St. Augustine sometimes like rooting for the New York Yankees. It's kind of like saying the Yankees are having a quiet season. People tend to roll their eyes, but
yeah.
St. Augustine is 17-2 or 18-2. Their only loss in the Cape Atlantic League is to Wildwood Catholic. Their other loss is to Moorestown. Charles Solomon of St. Augustine is just having a tremendous season, really kind of a breakout season for him as a senior. He's already had some of the best dunks of the season. He's no doubt in contention for some of the best dunks in the season. So it seems weird to say a team that's, St. Augustine is kind of flying under the radar, but they are a little bit at 17-2 or 18-2. And of course they can get, what they haven't had this season, I think, is that big, huge signature win. And it could come today when they play a very, very good Haddonfield team, the defending State Group 2 champions up at Paul VI. So I think it sounds weird, but I think St. Augustine's maybe flying a little bit under the radar. How many games in a row has Mainland won? You keep every night. I kind of keep waiting. Well, is this the night the magic kind of runs out on Mainland? And Angelo Barron and the boys down there in Linwood say no. And they keep rolling on and winning along. Millville, is rolling along on a big winning streak. Pleasantville, continues to win some big games. Ocean City, again, what are they? 15-3, 16-3. So. I just think you're seeing a lot of quality teams playing right now in the Cape Atlantic League. It's really been an exciting season. It's only going to get better.
That's what's going to be really interesting to me, Mike, is when this tournament starts, you're going to have 4, 5, 6 teams that are really playing great basketball at the right time of year. You're going to have teams coming in on pretty long winning streaks. So it should be one of the more interesting Cal tournaments in the last couple of years, I think.
Yeah, I would agree, absolutely. I think most of us, as we sit here right now, not to put the whammy on any team, but when the final 4 teams gather at Absegami on that Thursday night, I believe, I think we all expect Wildwood Catholic to be one of those 4 teams. But the other 3, okay, I'm going to think probably St. Augustine, but the other 2, I really think those are kind of toss-up games right now, between some of those teams. So, I think there's a real air of kind of mystery about this year's tournament because of the depth of the field. In past years, you kind of would look at the tournament before and say, okay, these 4 teams are going to be in the Final Four. this year, okay, I think we all agree Wildwood Catholic, is going to be there, probably be there in the semifinals. But the other two teams, that's kind of up in the air, and that should make for some great quarterfinal games this Friday night.
Talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, and Mike, real quick, touching on the girls' tournament. Obviously, Mainland's going to be the number one seed. They have Kylie Watson. They've been playing great basketball. But there's some teams out there that could definitely give them some trouble. I mean, they had a tough game against Ocean City a couple weeks ago where they only beat them by, I think, 5 or 6 points. So there are teams out there that can definitely compete with the Mustangs. And you look at a team like Middle Township's been playing just absolutely out of their minds the last 2 weeks. Wildwood Catholic has some really good players, so it's by no means going to be a cakewalk for Mainland, even if they do get the number one seed.
No, and I think Mainland will get the number one seed. I think you're looking at Ocean City as the number 2 seed. But like you said, there's a lot of teams in that I sort of quote that 3 to 6 area. Atlantic City has had its moments this season. Middle Township, Kira Sides, and Hurley can play with anybody. John Leahy does a great job down there as head coach. Kayla Sykes at ACIT, and those 2 big freshmen inside for ACIT, they've got to win over Atlantic City. Kayla can score with anybody, so that's an impressive team right there. Wildwood Catholic with Gabby Turco, can play with anybody right there. So I think you've got that, that 1 or 2 teams at the top that are, that you kind of expect to get to the semifinals. And then after that, I think you've got a deep, balanced field that really leads to some mystery as who's going to get there. Let's that Atlantic City team, they've kind of been up and down a little bit this season. They almost, they lost to Mainland. They almost beat Ocean City. They beat ACIT. They lost to ACIT. But I think with, Sienna Red Howard, the freshman guard, Garrison Macon, Savannah Robertson, the Canty girl, Bressel. I mean, Atlantic City's got as much talent and as athletic as anybody. And I think they'd be kind of a scary team for teams to face in the Cape Atlantic League semifinal or first-round game.
Yeah, Mike, some of these teams, it really comes down to the three-pointer. I mean, when you look at a team like Atlantic City, when they can get hot from 3, they can change a game. There's other teams like that as well with ACIT when they can nail a couple threes, and that could, Ocean City obviously has some three-point shooters, and so it's going to be interesting to see how these games play out.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you hit on something there. I think on both the boys' side and the girls' side that these games are going to be so close. That an old coach I used to talk to do some preview stories and used to say, well, what do you want out of your team in a big game, in a big state tournament game? And he always used to say timely perimeter shooting. That was one of the Tom Farraco of Middle Township, one of his pet phrases. Before the middle boys would play a big game, he would always say, well, we need some timely perimeter shooting. So in any of these Cape Atlantic League tournament games where the talent is so close, the teams are so close in the ability, a three-pointer here, a three-pointer there, some timely perimeter shots at the right moment can be all the difference in the world. That's the difference between surviving and advancing and going home.
Good stuff as always, Mike. We appreciate it. I know you got a long day ahead of you, so thanks for taking a few minutes to kind of fill us in on everything that's going on. Enjoy the rest of your day, buddy.
All right, Sully, you too. Anytime. We'll see you out there at the courts, this week and the rest of the season should be fun.
You'll get sick of seeing me by the end of February.
Sully, I'd never get sick of you, Sully. Let's go.
All right, have a great weekend, Mike. Appreciate it, bud.
All right, see you later. Bye-bye.